Here's something to consider. Steve Leto, one of my favorite channels. Don't always agree with him, but, you know, who agrees with everybody, right? Probability says he's probably right and I'm probably wrong, but, you know, sometimes we disagree. Anyway, love his channel. His latest video was talking about how the FTC just slapped Amazon and forced them to pay back all the tips they stole from their drivers. Literally stole. The drivers got tipped, Amazon kept it and didn't give it to the drivers. $61 million over 2 years. That's not fines and penalties. That's just the money they stole from their drivers. Not stolen pay, stolen tips. $61 million. That was 6 years ago. And all they had to do was pay back the $61 million in full. And we were talking in the comments on the video about, you know, well, there should be penalties for that, because I was like, you have no idea. You have no idea. If you penalized Amazon 10-1, if you penalized Amazon 100-1, if you made them pay back 100 times $61 million, they still won. They still win 10-1. If you penalize them 100-1, they still win 10-1 minimum. Because, like, you put out wild claims like that, how do you back it up? We are a generation, and when I say we, I mean people who exist right now, who have access to more knowledge than anyone in the history of mankind, than any society in the history of mankind. You're literally holding a supercomputer in your hand. Literally. This device, right, this $209 device, that you could buy this for $209 on Amazon, has more computing power than the entire planet did 50 years ago. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And you could just go to Google and type whatever you want, and it will probably find you a relevant answer. So even my estimate that they made hundreds of millions of dollars on that $61 million was totally wrong. Not even close. I am so far from the truth, it's ridiculous. Meaning, it's bigger. Okay. Go to Google and type in Amazon-brand-value. And the first link that comes up is a statista.gov link. And you can see the brand value for Amazon. In 2016, the company was worth $98 billion. Today, the company is worth just shy of $700 billion. That means in 6 years, Amazon has literally, not figuratively, not metaphorically, not theoretically, they have literally increased the value of every single dollar that company is worth 1,000-1. It's like 9,900 and something to 1. So we're going to call it, it's 1,000-1. So they've increased every dollar by $1,000. So if you take $61 million and multiply it by 1,000, assuming I did this math right, I hope I didn't screw it up. That's $61 billion. So you could literally argue from a factual perspective that they were able to increase the value of the $61 million they stole from these drivers to $61 billion. I mean, let's do it. I could double the value of that money in 6 years. In Google, go to compound interest calculator. And the first link that comes up, I don't know what it's a gov link, comes up with it's a investor.gov or something like that. put in $61 million, put in 6 years, put in 10%, which is being very conservative, and put in daily compounding interest. It's damn near $112 million. Someone like you or me, with a couple of working brain cells, could take $61 million and damn near double it in 6 years. What do you think someone like Amazon could do with $61 million? They would look at your 10% interest and just scoff at you and sneer, because that $61 million that you gained from that $61 million, to them that's a loss. To them that's meaningless gibberish. It's too small an amount of money. They literally increased the value of their company 1,000 to 1. So they converted $61 million into $61 billion. The only way you could fine Amazon enough to actually dissuade them from doing this kind of thing again is you would have to fine them in excess of $61 billion. You have to fine them more than they made. We fined them $61 billion, which means we let them keep 999 times 61 million in profit from stealing from those drivers. And that's being conservative. They could have made more. I don't know. Each way, they made hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars from that $61 million. And all they had to do was pay it back. So they got a $61 billion interest-free loan from all of their drivers. You can't make this shit up. See, the problem is people like you, people like me, we're clueless. We're infantile morons when it comes to dealing with numbers this large. We can't comprehend them. Our brains just aren't rigged to comprehend what you can do with that much money. What are most of you thinking about right now regarding $61 million? A mansion? A yacht? Buying a Bugatti? Maybe a private jet? Nothing. That's nothing. That's infantile squealing compared to what companies like Amazon think about when they think of $61 million. What is Amazon thinking about? They're thinking about $61 billion and what they could do with that. And what will they do in another 6 years if they didn't get caught? What would that be? Let's see. I can probably just keep running the tabulation. Let's say if they just 10% interest, just 10% compound interest. Let's say they went 7 years. $122 million. Let's say they went 10 years. $165 million. Almost tripled it. Okay? What about 15 years? $273 million. And they stopped after 2 years. Okay? It is $61 million in 2 years. Jesus Christ. Oh my God, this is mind-blowing. I don't even know what this number is going to equal, but I already know it's going to blow my mind. So 61 million divided by 24. Now, I mean, it's probably not even, but let's just amortize it evenly. That is $2.541666 million. So let's call it $2.55 million. Okay? So if we do a monthly contribution, because this is a zero monthly contribution, this is sticking $61 million in the bank and saying 10% compounded daily interest, which a company like Amazon could do. You and I can't do that, although we could if we had $61 million. So 2550000. So now we're going to do, let's say They didn't stop after 2 years because they stopped when the FTC started investigating them. They stopped stealing the tips. But let's say the FTC didn't investigate them, or they didn't stop stealing the money because they thought they'd win. And so they kept stealing the money. So how much would they have now at a simple 10% daily compounding interest rate on $61 million, and they're compounding it, and they're doing a monthly contribution of $2.55 million into that? In 6 years, not 15 years. Remember, 15 years with simple compound got us $273 million. Had they continued stealing the tips of their drivers, they would now have $363 million. You can't make this up. That's 500% return on money they stole. Literal theft. Literal theft. Not an accounting error, not a mistake, actual theft. They consciously decided they don't deserve those tips. We're going to steal them because we believe we're entitled to that money. Amazon, a $100 billion company. Amazon, in 2016, $100 billion company, $98 billion. Decided we're going to steal it because we can. Right? What about 10 years? $700 million. If they did that for 10 years and continued stealing money from their drivers, just a simple 10% compounding interest account would have netted them $700 million after 10 years. You can't comprehend these numbers. I can't comprehend these numbers without punching them into a calculator. Because, we're, for us, 10 grand's a lot of money. It's more than I make in a year. To Amazon, it's nothing. It's dandruff on the shoulder. You can't make this stuff up. Wild claims? Wild claims? My claim of they made hundreds of millions of dollars was not only not wild, it was insignificant. It was a pittance compared to reality. Because the reality is, you can argue that they made $61 billion from that $61 million. Because they have factually increased the value of their company 10 to 1. So do I have that link here? There it is. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. Oh, goddamn cookies, man. Are you serious? You've got to be kidding me. I've got to go through my editor here and delete the nodes because they're putting stuff over top of the data so I can't see it. You've got to be kidding me. So they won't even, never mind. You're going to have to go there and do it yourself. They've got stuff obscuring the data now, and I clicked on the wrong node when I tried to delete it. But go look up the Amazon brand value. It's on Statista.com. In 2016, they were worth $98 billion. In 2021, they're worth just shy of $700 billion. They've literally increased the value of every dollar the company is worth 1,000 to 1. So they've increased the value of that $61 million 1,000 to 1. So that $61 million they stole is now worth $61 billion. You just can't comprehend the scale of what companies like this can do with that kind of money, because they can do things you and I cannot do, and you and I cannot comprehend. It's mind-boggling.